300 people showed up for that event. Among the pandemic and the lockdown, here in the coastal city of Dahab, Ibrahim was able to reinitiate Cairo runners who had been stopped for almost 1.5 years as a result of the pandemic and the lockdown. Welcome to the Egypreneur podcast, on the principles of stoicism, agility, and innovation. We're starting this podcast to feature the entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurs who are driving new energy and reigniting the passion, energy, and change that the world needs to get over the pandemic and the lockdown. From mental health to business innovation to new and evolving initiatives. Cairo runners have done something lots of entrepreneurs in Egypt and around the world need to know about and need to emulate. This has been fabulous. 300 souls and thousands of people who are watching them enjoying the experience, doing physical activities that actually give them the energy and get them out of depression and a lot of bad other things. My name is Abdul and I'm the founder of Egypreneur, and I'm very, very happy to have Ibrahim, my long-term friend for 10 years, as my first guest for this podcast. Ibrahim, this has been super fabulous, man. I'm a very big fan of Cairo runners since you guys started. So I mean, like, with Egypreneur, I've been tracking a lot of initiatives and a lot of the startups.
Yes.
And on top of this list comes Cairo runners, not just because I love running,
Yes.
but also I see that there is a lot of energy and a lot of passion with the volunteers, with the organizations, also the beautiful image of what Egypt could be in the future. So, and also we have something in common, which is a little bit funny, is that every time I go for running for one of your events that you put together, I got usually like a cute lady running side by side and coming close and saying, like, Ibrahim, is that you? Because I think like it's kind of unusual, like both of us have colored eyes, so you're mistaking us for each other. So that's been always very funny to observe me being asked to be you. So Ibrahim, how would you introduce yourself and introduce the journey of Cairo Runner pretty quickly?
Okay, so my name is Ibrahim, and I used to be a mechanical engineer before the
I used to be a mechanical engineer as well.
And then I worked like for a mechanical engineer for almost 8 years. And then we initiated Cairo Runners during the journey of while I was working as a mechanical engineer. It was a German company. And then I had to choose between Cairo Runners and Bosch because the Cairo Runners thing was like 2 years old by that time, or 3 years old, and a lot of work was ongoing, and then I couldn't do both together, like the 9-to-5 job as Cairo Runners. Then I had to choose. Then I chose Cairo Runners. We started Cairo Runners in 2012, like 9 years ago. It was at the beginning, it was just an initiative. We go to the streets every Friday morning for a run in a new place every Friday with a different distance till we reach our goal, which was a half marathon by that time. We did 2 seasons by that. Like the idea was to do 1 season and that's it. And then we found people more interested about the initiative and the running. And then we now we are 9 years now. And like after the 2nd season, I left my job. We rented an office. We were full-time employees, and then we started to do new things, new events, initiated some new stuff with Cairo Runners.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you something because I understand, because I'm going through this journey myself of understanding, like, how do we get over the pandemic?
Yes.
And, like, this journey, like 8 months ago, it's brought me to the coastal city of Dahab. So I've been living in Dahab for 8 months. And I found, like, new energy and new ideas and new initiatives out there. And for me, it was quite like an intense journey of self-discovery and a lot of changes and a little bit of a spirituality. And I understand that it takes a lot of energy for you to reinitiate something.
Yes.
So I understand that also Cairo Runners, it's actually called Cairo Runners.
Yes.
But your recent events, this actually took place in Dahab, as you can see.
Yes.
So I want you to talk to us a little bit about the psychology and the kind of efforts in which that you can get a company or an initiative or something you want to go over, like the challenges of the pandemic or the lockdown, because I see that the lockdown, it just puts people in a lot of depression, a lot of bad ideas and bad thoughts. So how do you give this like high energy push?
Yes.
Where did you get this energy from?
Usually, we get our energy from the people around us. Like in Cairo runners, when you see the runners, they want to do something good for them. Then you feel like a bit responsible for this because you initiated something that make people move, that make people do something good for their health, for their like physical and mental health as well. Then you move, like when you find some messages sent to you, where is Cairo runners, we want to run, we miss Cairo runners. When you find the team misorganizing the events, it's something from inside the people that let us move. So without these people and this community, I don't believe that I could do something after the pandemic, because it was like a big thing for the whole world, not only for Cairo runners or not only for Egypt, because the whole world stopped for almost a year. There's no events, there is nothing to do. So for us it was like when you find people exciting about something you do, then we move for these people. Yes.
Oh man, you're making me feel a bit guilty because like I had a little bit of that with Egypreneur. Lots of people have been like connected to Egypreneur, and we hadn't been really communicating that much because we first needed to understand what's going on and what we're gonna tell people.
Yeah.
And as you said, this is the solution out of the pandemic is people oriented, right?
Yes.
Because we look at systems and ideas and thoughts, but then you see that lots of the energy of the change that inspires people is about the value of what you offer to other people and seeing the outcome and the results in other people's faces.
But let me tell you, it's not that easy just as we speak. Like, because you think many times while you are working, should we stop now? How would we get money out of this? How can we sustain the business? It's very difficult. It's very tough. So let's do something else. So it's not like, okay, let's continue. Like you struggle a lot with yourself, with the people in the company or in this initiative. So you go through many challenges, but at the end you choose how to go. Like, and at the end it's a choice, and you should follow it.
Yeah. Can you give us a little bit of an intense situation that almost stopped you? So what was like the one event that almost stopped you from like launching this event?
Yes.
Especially we're talking about the Dahab Team K race, because I see that this is huge. Like from my perspective, to see Cairo runners as they're the brand, it's like Cairo based, and there have been challenges in getting this off the ground because of the pandemic. But then you found a new spot, you moved in there, you took people for like an 8-hour drive.
Yes.
You got all the permissions that you want, and you did the race. So I see that this is a lot of energy. And definitely, like, one point there have been a challenge that stops you. So, can you tell us a little bit about this one challenge that has been like the most intense, especially from the emotional and psychological standpoint?
For this event, for the
Yes.
I think it was,
Yes.
like something that would stop us from it. Look, in most of our events, it's intense because you organize. Running in the streets, and in Egypt here, it's not that easy to organize sports or running in the streets because of many things. One of them is the permissions. So when we applied for this event, we didn't know if it would be easy to get the permissions or not during this pandemic. So you take the risk.
Yeah.
You apply for your papers. We came here twice to meet the people here in Dahab, the police and other people here to get our permissions. But you're always in a risk that maybe one day before the event they can tell you it's cancelled.
Yes.
You cannot do it because they have the reasons, and then you cannot negotiate. So for this event it was more risky because of the corona and pandemic, and people we were contacting them, they got corona as well, they got positive COVID-19. So it was risky. If there is no other people to talk to, then it's cancelled or it's stopped. So usually it's risk, but now it was more risky because of the situation here.
Yeah.
But then but we got used to this, and we came here twice. We applied for the event, and then we announced, and then it worked well at the end. But it's always 50-50. Even without the pandemic, it's not that easy to get the permissions to run in the streets. Yes.
Yeah. And also,
but frankly, they were very helpful here.
yeah,
Usually, if you organize something outside Cairo, it's much more relaxing than in Cairo. Cairo people are stressed. They always afraid to give you any permission because Cairo one of the busiest cities in the world. But when you go outside Cairo, it's more easy and people want to do something.
yeah. I remember you told me about that before. Is it you were expecting it to be really difficult for like them to accept from like a security standpoint and moving, and then you were surprised that you actually got the call just the second day. Okay, come guys and do it.
Yes.
Yeah, and also one thing, because also I have these conversations with a lot of CEOs and small business owners, and we reach this point in which it's difficult for the intellectual brain to process something that's not guaranteed. So we're talking here about uncertainty and about like one of the principles of this podcast, and also for what we see in the journey for the future is the stoicism, which is also having being tough enough for the challenges that you see ahead. And one of the core ideas that we kind of are thinking about is that fear and faith, they are like, like two sides of almost the same coin.
Sure.
So the higher the fear, the higher the faith that you need to go with it. So you have to have like the faith really high that this is going to work. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to see what happens. So would you think in that, like you're going to ask for something, you could be rejected, and it takes a lot of faith, right?
Yes. Because I don't want to say something like cliche, but
I think it's cliche time. I mean, it's a pandemic. I mean, like.
Yeah, but you really need to believe in this, so you can take all these risks and go through all tough times. Because it's not an ordinary business that we do. It's like usually we don't make that lot of money, but it's okay. Like it's okay for the business, but it's something different. It's not a 9 to 5 job that you go to your office and work and then you go back home. It's something that you work during the weekends. It's something that sometimes you don't sleep for 4 or 5 days. If you have a major event such as Cairo Marathon or whatever. Sometimes when we started Cairo Runners, I stayed a lot of time. I didn't see a lot of my friends. I was not seeing a lot of my families as well. So it's not that easy. But sometimes it's nice. Sometimes you have time because running seasons, in Egypt, it's in summer you don't run a lot, so you can take a break. But usually you need to sacrifice for some things, to work, because we worked every Friday morning for 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
And every Friday morning you have 2,000 people in the streets, and you need to make security for them. You need to have all safety measures. You need to have all the production needed for the event. So every Friday morning you have work that needs 1 week before. So usually you don't take risks, and sometimes you have major events through these weekends as well.
So you already had the system for that, because also that gives us to the second point, which is agility. Being flexible and all, because lots of the businesses, lots of the people that I talk to, they already had the system from before. I mean, like they had companies going on for 5 years and 10 years, and they had the systems. But for them right now, it's a new reality. So they think that the systems are useless because it's a different reality. And I see what you did. That you really, now you see that you have the system, but then you use the systems in different contexts.
Yes. Let me tell you, when we started Cairo Runners, no one of us knows about running or about organizing a run. We started and we get learned with the events, and we traveled to Beirut. They have the biggest marathon in the Middle East. We learned from them for 3 or 4 years as well. So, and then we knew how to make a company, what like positions you need in the company, marketing, business development, or whatever, and then you make a system, but the system is very agile, and it's not a fixed system, especially in this industry. You cannot do like a system that will stay for 5 years. No, it's not like this. You do a system, but you play through it. So we learned a lot about the team, and you have also in some events many volunteers on board. Like in Cairo Marathon, we have more than 600 volunteers
Yes.
and 80 people project-based team. So it's a big number. So that's why.
Yeah, and also it's still a personal connection because I saw that yesterday. Like we were just discussing in preparations to that. And like someone told you, oh, it's you. I volunteer with your event. We're here in Dahab. So the guy was volunteering in Cairo. So there is like a ripple effect of people like being engaged with that and also benefiting from it and bringing a lot of energy.
Yeah, that's a good thing for Cairoans that you know a lot of people you have because of the community. You know people from students or partners or NGOs or the government as well. So. You need to do some connections with a lot of stakeholders because the business has a lot of stakeholders ongoing.
Exactly. Yeah. And I love that you mentioned, like, spontaneously mentioned two things. You mentioned the people and the system.
Yes.
I think, like, out of 12 years with Egypreneur, we kind of made, like, the 4 core needs of any business are, like, people, money, systems, and expertise or advice.
Yes.
And strategy. So if we can go through this, we already talked about the people in terms of the inspiration and the energy and picking the right people and building the team. We talked about the systems, which is something that you build with time, with experiments. And lots of the companies that already have the system, they can like reuse it. And I think reusing comes to the expertise. Or there's someone who is like an advisor or a mentor for you who mentioned that you guys can go to Dahab. So how did you came up with the idea and find this piece of advice that you guys can go to Dahab? Where did this come from?
We have some mentors from Egypt and outside Egypt as well. Like I consider Wissam, he's the race director of Beirut Marathon, Wissam Terro, and usually we ask him. When I go there, I talk to him. I was just in Beirut like 3 months ago, and I met with him. We talked a lot because he knows a lot about the industry. He knows a lot about this business. So and here in Egypt we have. 2 people, like 2 or 3 people as well. I have a friend called Mahmoud. I always discuss with him. We have someone called Captain Hisham. He's like in the running industry, and he's a very good advisor for us as well. So sometimes you just you talk to them. You just see how in many aspects, not only in business, maybe also about the community, about the next steps, about many things. And sometimes you just need to take your own decisions because you are in the shit, as they say, or we are in the
when the shit hits the fan, it's you who can respond to it.
So you take a decision and you you get responsible of it. We are the board of Cairo runners. We are 5 people. Then we discuss together and we take some decisions like this. Dahab thing. Let's do that. Okay, but what about the pandemic? What about the process of the permissions and everything? And then you take a decision and work on it.
I see, like, from a lot of conversation, also a lot of transition that I was working with a few entrepreneurs on, there is something very special for what you're saying, which is openness to this piece of advice. Because I work with some entrepreneurs in a coaching and consulting capacity. And one of the biggest challenges for me is how to get them to open up for advice, because lots of entrepreneurs are used to the thinking process. So it's their thinking brain. They want to have the system. This is the way things work. And now it's time for change and innovation and agility. So you need to come up with like big ideas and so staying open to listen to a lot of people and then take your own decision. This is quite a process that's partially intellectual and partially emotional. Can you talk to us a little bit about how do you stay open to listen to other people and then come up with your own decision, knowing that it's going to be like, it's your ass on the line, basically. So it's your own risk, it's your own life journey, it's your own decision. You have multiple routes to go, but then you have to do this. So how do you stay open for all these ideas? And from the other hand, how the people that you listen to managed not to trigger you in a resistant way. So we're talking now about resistance, because this is like one big thing that I see with a lot of businesses is that I have to give them like frank advice. This is done. This business is dead. You need to build that. Take your systems and rebuild that. And then you enter into like lots of power struggles. No. How do you keep yourself open? And what are the tips for others who could actually inspire and influence other than directing them?
Uh, it's a good question, but it depends. Sometimes you know what to do, but you need to take their like opinions or even the team opinion. Just maybe they can see something different, or they can put a light on something that you don't know about. But sometimes they say like the other direction, but sometimes I do whatever I want because maybe I see something. Maybe at the end I'm right or wrong. Right?
Yes,
It's not always the right thing. But sometimes you feel something and you want just to do it, or you go through it. So it depends. It really depends. And sometimes no. Sometimes you take their advices and they are right. Then maybe I wanted to do Cairo Marathon in March. And I thought that Corona is okay now in Egypt and the numbers is less, and I saw many events going through us. So why not doing the Cairo Marathon in this March? And then we talked together. It was in October, last October, and they always said that it's a bit risky because what if we did the Cairo Marathon and we announced about it, and then 1 week before it was cancelled. So it's not like for that 10K race. If it's cancelled, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not a big loss. Small numbers of attendees. You don't have many sponsors on board, 3-4 sponsors, so it's okay. But Cairo Marathon, you spend millions on the event. People registered, and you have like 8,000 people on board, so it's not that easy to cancel.
Yeah.
So we took a decision to postpone Cairo Marathon for now, and we rescheduled for another day. So it was a decision, but like for the race, some people said no, it's not the right time, but I said okay, it's not a big number, and for that race we can make that race.
Yeah.
So it depends. Yeah.
So if I may ask like a little bit of a sneaky question, why Dahab?
We love Dahab. This is our third time to do an event in Dahab. It's very nice. I don't know, it has a different vibe.
Yeah.
We did in a lot of cities around Egypt, but Dahab, even it's like with the bus, it's 10 hours drive, and you know about the tunnel and all of these things.
Yeah.
So people, when you say Dahab or Sinai, they always, the first thing come up on their mind, I'll be
The long journey.
Yes, the long journey.
Yeah.
But the scenery here is very nice. The route is all along the sea, and you see the mountains. You can do some activities. We do activities here. We come not just a marathon.
Yes.
We go to the mountains and other places as well. So it's like a camp with a 10K race. So it's very nice.
Yeah.
So for us, when we decide to do something, then we are all excited, the team.
Yeah.
So it's very nice.
So it's connected to people and connected to nature as well.
Yes.
So getting close to nature, because also
always Sinai has its own vibes.
Yeah, that's right. So if we get back to the future, I wanna take the 4 components we talked about.
Yes.
There's always the money component.
Yes.
And there's always the people component. There's the systems and the advice. And I think we went through those. And the vision is, if people really pay attention to these 4 components, think about them, and then they look at the challenge of the pandemic and see that the systems that I have, either not in a single company, but in different companies, because I see this is also a good time for joint ventures and acquisitions and a lot of changes within the business structures. So we want to talk about innovation in the future, because I see also there is a lot of activities on coming out of Cairo Runners right now. So you guys seem to have a schedule of things, and you had a clearer vision about how the future goes. So can you talk to us about how to use these 4 ingredients in terms of finance and money, people and people's energy, like the systems that you've already built in the past, and also advice and conversations with mentors to reformulate and shape the future. So, because it seems like when I go to the Cairo Runners page now, I see that there is consistent kind of posts and consistent plans. So how did you manage to get into that phase in which that, okay, now I am over this and I'm moving in that direction? So how did this come about?
The industry of the events or running events, sports events, it's relying on sponsors, which is a bit risky as well, because when you come through like the pandemic and Corona, and if anything happened to the country, the first thing stopped is the events. Sponsors don't pay for sponsorship fees; they always keep their money. So now we are thinking of do some other income streams in Cairo. We started we are doing some corporate events as well for the employees in the company, some private events, because we have good experience in the events industry, sports events and other events as well. So it's something that we are initiating now to do some corporate events for the people in the corporates, for the employees and other events as well. We are expanding in sports events. And for the running events, we are trying to have always a clear vision, a clear yearly plan. For the Cairo Marathon, we have 2 main events in the year, and then we have some small events around it, and the weekly runs for sure. But when now it's not very easy to get permissions for the weekly runs because of the corona. Maybe after summer it's better after the vaccines and all of these things. So that's the main thing, because you are not an NGO at the end. You need to sustain your business.
Yes.
Money is not the. You are not doing Cairo runners for just money for sure, but you need to sustain your business. So you need to rely on different streams, not only one.
Yeah.
So that's things that we are thinking about, and you need to have a clear vision of your calendar, because you are working on a yearly calendar. People, runners, they need to know what's your calendar, what you are doing in the next 6 months. So
Yes.
they do their plans as well.
Yeah. And this is also a personal challenge for me, because I think we're both engineers, so we're brought up with a very structured thinking of projecting things in the future, having plans. But then there are too many variables now.
Yes.
So I am really thinking about, and also this is like lots of the mentors that I talk to, we talk about the structured thinking versus what we a term that was coined called intelligent spontaneity.
Okay.
So intelligent spontaneity means that other than you coming up with your big plan and just going there to execute this plan, and this is what I have, is that you're actually responding to events as they arise.
Yes.
And you're responding with a lot of intelligence that you captured from the past, and sometimes this is a gut feeling.
Yes.
So, do you relate to this idea of intelligent spontaneity? We understand we have to project this is where we're going.
Yes.
And then we have to respond to that intelligently, because also visualize. I like this mental image of they say it's about like airplane landing.
Yes.
So when you're like far away, you can just barely see the lines, but once you get closer, now you see closer.
Yes.
So like, what is your relationship and your experience with this idea of intelligent spontaneity?
As I mentioned, it's the industry. You always go through this. It's not a like if it's we are far from a rigid system. We are always go through this. We are always you need to like every day is not the same as the other day. So you need always to act and to respond to the changes, to the variables. Like sometimes not only once but more than once we have got events cancelled the night before the event. Just the night before the event. Sometimes after spending hundreds of thousands of Egyptian pounds and after more than 2,000 people registering in your event.
And how do you deal with that? Just because I also have some personal experiences with that. You specify a certain date, there are a lot of expectations, and then things didn't work out.
Yes.
And then you get a lot of doubts that, now you're kind of, you're unreliable, you're blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of like talking about it. And this is also, it's somehow failure, like we failed and we couldn't do that. So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the emotional reflections of things not working at a specified date?
Yeah.
Do you get depressed?
It's
I mean, like this?
Yeah, a lot of times. But sometimes it's out of your hands.
Yeah.
But even if it's out of your hands, you always think, what did I do wrong? I had to do to this direction instead of this one. Did I miss some people's work? How to avoid this in the next time?
Yes.
And it happens the next time. Sometimes, So you get depressed, and sometimes you think, why I'm doing all of this? You are not gaining that much of money, and then you get pressure from some parties, and sometimes you get depressed. Yes.
Yeah. So failure hits all of us, and I think this is also like shared experience with a lot of people. So sometimes you have to take a break.
Yes.
You have to get some tea. You got some dates.
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of our experience. Is that like as you mentioned just now, is that you end up picking the shit that you want to deal with.
Yes.
So it's a very personal decision for a lot of people to come up with like what they are most passionate about and also
Yes.
rethink that. And I think this is also one reason why I'm really excited about the Dahab Innovation Labs, because through that we actually bring in people from around the world.
Yes.
We onboard them in Dahab and we help them, because we cannot actually do that, but we help them look inside themselves and see what they care most about and what kind of shit are they ready to be dealing with, and then they go through that journey with a lot of people like you who do have this kind of experience. So this is one of the things that I'm really super excited about, is that Dahab could be an excellent bet for like even a global movement into how the world would look like post COVID-19.
Yes.
Because also here it's kind of open.
You
It's
find
still,
many people here working and they mingle together. The weather is nice here. It's a very nice city. I believe like that in the pandemic is one of the best cities to live in.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
I think I'm a testimony to that. It had been like 8 months and I'm loving that.
Yes,
And now
yes.
you're like, we're thinking about the future and the big plans for the future.
Yes.
And like bringing a lot of people also to Dahab. So it's a really, really exciting time.
Yes.
And as you said, like once things doesn't work out, you can always retreat,
Yes.
re-energize, just grab some tea and then just go back into
Yes.
it.
Into action.
Yeah, this has been super, super interesting, Ibrahim. I
Thank you.
love that. I remember like when things were starting out in, I think it was 2011.
Yes.
With like the runs in Zamalek and how things now are kind of inspiring many people and moving people farther. And I see also even like this interview, this talk, like I hope many people are going to be watching it, whether like from Egypreneur or other sources, they're going to find that really inspiring. And I look forward in a future in which like we find many of these inspiring stories. We're capable of featuring them through this podcast. And we learn from people like Ibrahim and their stories and their experiences, because also there is a lot about the collective intelligence, is what people are doing and what we learn from them, and we get the inspiration and we keep moving. And these, ladies and gentlemen, are the 3 principles we feel and think are going to be the guiding principles for the future. Stoicism, being tough enough to handle rejection and failure and hard times. Agility, being able to kind of move and do lots of changes. And innovation, bringing the ingredients and building something new, like a chef, like a cook, like the way Ibrahim has done it with his team and with his mentors, with his advisors, and also with all the stakeholders who help that, because no one is capable of doing anything on their own. You have to engage all the stakeholders. You have to be open for all kind of advice. And yeah, you're gonna be actually dealing with shit anyway. It's tough times, but your journey and your inspiration is something that's going to be inspiring many people. Ibrahim, thank you so much
Thank
for
you, Abdul Habib.
being available for that.
Lovely,
I know that you're
in Dahab as well, so
yeah, you're driving back to Cairo for
Yes.
8 hours, so thank you
Yes.
so much for
Thank
like
you. Thank
hooking
you.
up for that for the last minute.
My
Would you like to
pleasure.
say anything else, like out of your pieces of advice for people who are watching us?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of advices, but maybe just as you said, like yesterday I was reading a book. The phrase that you said, we all went through many sheds, but just try to find the shed that you are enjoying dealing with. Because life is tough, but sometimes you like just try to find. I don't mean just to leave your work and to do your own thing. It's not like this, because many people say like this. It's not like this. Like if you are working in a company that you are enjoying, that's your place. You don't have to. Not everyone should be an entrepreneur. Not everyone should do his own thing.
Yeah.
But try to find whatever suits you. That's it.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, my last thoughts. It is stoicism, agility, and innovation. That's what brought Cairo Runners back into launching in Dahab, and brought with them 300 souls who got the inspiration and the energy, who got the refreshed into looking at the future differently. And this is the beginning of a lot of inspiring stories we're looking at featuring at this podcast. So thank you so much,
Thank
Ibrahim.
you, Abd.
And thanks for our lovely
Yes.
team who have been helping us shooting these podcasts. Yeah, we're grateful for all the team efforts, and that's how things work. People working together, figuring solutions, being open and flexible. We look forward to seeing you at the next episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Ibrahim.
Abd Habib. Thank you.